Talk line on Metro News. So the House of Representatives voting today on legislation that would prevent any refugees from Syria or Iraq from being admitted to the U.S. unless the FBI, Department of Homeland Security, and Director of National Intelligence can certify to Congress that each refugee does not pose a security threat. Congressman David McKinley, West Virginia's 1st District, on with us. Congressman, good morning. A, do you support the bill? And B, has it been voted upon yet, or is it scheduled for today?
Of course, I support the bill, and we're going to be voting on it at 12:30. We had to set the rules by which the debate is taking place right now on the floor, and that will be voted on. It's going to pass, Hoppy, and it should pass by a very large vote because what we're saying, and I think that's what you tried to say in your opening remark, we're just trying to put a pause until we can get a little bit better comfort level about this for national security. So it may be a pause that lasts for 6 months. It could be a year until this is in effect. Some way to give some control over individuals coming in here that we're heretofore we've not done that. So that's all this is. This is just a pause until we can get our security situation taken care of better than we had in the past.
Congressman, let me read to you a statement by a couple of lawmakers from the Democratic Party. They said, quote, refugees from this region specifically already undergo a far more rigorous screening process than anyone else seeking admission in this country, including background checks, national security vetting, biometric identifiers, and interviews. The House Republican legislation would immediately shut down all refugee resettlement from Syria and Iraq, possibly for many years, and severely handicap future refugee resettlements around the world. That's what the Democrats say. And do they have a point?
Of course not. There's nothing. It's only a 5-page bill. There's nothing in the bill that calls for the shutting down of the settlements, those that could be located in Jordan or wherever they are, where these individuals. Look, this is a very difficult situation, and some people are trying to politicize this. This is not. This should be, and I hope it'll be a very strong bipartisan vote. But there are some people here that want to ignore what's happened all around the world. This is a dangerous world we're in right now, and Paris just found out with their open border concept that they have what happened to them. So we want to be careful about what happens here. Just yesterday, as you know, in the paper, there was a discussion that Honduras had just captured, or they're holding now, 5 Syrian individuals that had their plans to make their way into through Texas into America. We're being probed, and all we want to do is let's slow this process down and find out how we can approach it. Hoppy, this is just the first step. There are going to be series of other actions on it. We just had provided this past week a list of 32 recommendations from a counterterrorism task force that's been working to try to figure out how we're going to address this. But the most poignant issue, Hoppy, would be to go back to the FBI director who acknowledged. We just had a classified briefing with him, so I can't tell you what he said at the classified briefing, but he said pretty much the same thing publicly, and that we can't. We have they said they acknowledge they have gaps. There are no records in Syria now about people's crime. So everyone that's having any question about this should just understand, where do you call if you want to find out a background check on an individual? There are no records now in some of those communities. They've been leveled, destroyed, and the only one that's occupying those communities now are ISIS individuals. And I don't think we want to call them and find out whether or not these are bad actors or not.
Congressman David McKinley's with us, but you're going to be hit with pictures of desperate refugees trying to escape a war-torn region and American pictures of the Statue of Liberty. Pretty compelling stuff. I mean, you're going to get beat up on some of this stuff by some folks.
We've been beat up on other things, but this is not prevent stopping the settlements. What we're in phases 2 and 3, and as we go down, is we're going to try to develop some safe zones, and those safe zones in Jordan and elsewhere, hopefully Saudi Arabia. That it may cost us some money to do this, but listen, the bottom line, quite frankly, it's all about national security. Do we want at this point to be able to bring people in that have no background check whatsoever on them? And even if we try to do a background check, There are no records in Syria and parts of Iraq that we'd be able to call to confirm whether or not these are bad actors. So let's just slow it down for a little bit.
Congressman David McKinley's with us. The last time I checked, and maybe it's changed since then, you said maybe Saudi Arabia. I don't think Saudi Arabia is taking any refugees. Is that correct?
There's some pressure on them to do it. As we speak, no, that's correct. But this is a very fluid. Remember, all of this has taken place since Friday of last week. So there are a lot of discussions going on to try to open up other nations to be able to take this for humanitarian reasons. And I think in America, we're going to open our purse and we're going to help pay for some of that. But I think it's far better to keep the individuals until we can develop a very thorough vetting process. It would be better to keep them there than on our shore. So we're working with other nations. We're trying to follow. When the FBI director says we can't verify their backgrounds, that ought to send a chilling effect to all of us, especially given that some of the history now from yesterday and on of individuals coming here that could do harm to us.
And again, as you say, it was a classified briefing from the head of the FBI. But when he did, and there's been a lot of publicity about the threats to the United States that followed Paris, and some description of that as well. They're always threatening the West, and this is nothing new. But did the FBI director give you any sense that the security level in this country, that the security threat is any greater today than it has been for the last 15 years?
That's classified.
Okay. Well, okay.
He's trying to tell us, I think, and that's why in the bill it says very, very clearly, you have to determine the information on his background has to be sufficient to determine whether these aliens are a threat to the security. He has to sign off on it, and with his public statement where he says, my concern is that there are certain gaps that he didn't want to talk about publicly in the data available to him.
Okay.
He's trying to tell us, folks, we can't do a thorough background check just yet. Give us a few.
So he's sending a signal. He's sending a signal to you saying about that you can't do a thorough background check.
Yeah, I think that's what he's telling us. Not just yet.
Is this bill going to pass?
Hoppy, this is just a pause button. This is not. We have been a very humanitarian nation. Think of the millions of people that have come here over the decades and century here of our nation.
Is the bill going to pass with bipartisan support?
Absolutely, and so we're going to see what happens. The president's already threatening to veto. I think he's on the wrong side on this. This is not a partisan. I don't know why it came out so quickly in opposition to it. I'll be curious. I hope that it's going to be a very strong support from the folks on the other side, because this is not a partisan. All we're saying is, Poppy, again, just hold back for a few minutes. Let's catch our breath until we can come up with a plan how we're going to assimilate people into this country.
Congressman David McKinley, appreciate you coming on. We'll watch with interest the vote at 12:30 today. Thank you, sir. We'll be right back.
Come on.